On the evening of January 3, 1924, George Gershwin and his brother Ira were in a billiard parlor when Ira noticed a newspaper article reporting that George Gershwin was composing a new jazz concerto for a February 12th concert given by band leader Paul Whiteman. This came as a surprise to George, since he had turned down Whiteman's request because he felt there wasn't enough time for the project. He phoned Whiteman, who told him that a rival composer was ready to take on the task if Gershwin didn't, and so in a rapid 5 weeks, Rhapsody in Blue was created. Composers have often used the title Rhapsody for works that don't adhere to an established structure, and Gershwin's work does come off as a series of loosely connected, if nonetheless exciting, musical ideas. As Leonard Bernstein noted, "You can remove any of these stuck-together sections and the piece still goes on as bravely as before. You can even interchange these sections with one another and no harm done. It's still the Rhapsody in Blue." The day after the Paul Whiteman concert, Gershwin was asked by conductor Walter Damrosch to write a more extended jazz concerto, and so the composer immersed himself in books on musical form and orchestration, doing much of the work in the summer of 1925 in a quiet practice shack at the Chautauqua Institution. The Concerto in F was given its premiere less than 2 years after that of Rhapsody in Blue. The challenge for this former Tin Pan Alley song plugger was to take the kinds of memorable melodies he had a talent for creating and make them work in a structure spanning a much longer time frame than that of a 2.5-minute popular song. One of the things he did in the Concerto in F to adapt his style was to arrange the material in a convincing and coherent sequence. For instance, when the piano first plays, the theme is memorable but presented in its sparest version. The jazz influence is heard in the notes from the so-called blues scale, where simultaneous major and minor create friction. I've highlighted the most prominent ones here. At the end of the phrase, rather than going on to a new melody, he repeats the last couple of notes at higher pitch levels, and then the energy subsides. Now the melody is repeated, and the orchestra gradually steals in. Once again, rather than finishing, the piano plays a rising sequence. Notice that in Gershwin's manuscript there are cuts marked in his effort to tighten up the structure. The next minute or so has contrasting material, but the piano soon enters with a Charleston rhythm, and Gershwin incrementally increases the pace. Leading to a breathless pause. We now hear the main melody given out by both the piano and the orchestra. This triumphant return is the payoff for the preceding setup, a technique symphonic composers like Beethoven and Mahler had used so effectively. And speaking of Beethoven, in the beginning of the final movement, Gershwin avoids long, pretty melodies and instead builds the music from small blocks of repeated notes, similar to what is going on at the beginning of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Gershwin employs the pianistic trick of alternating hands on the same key to get a rapid-fire pattern. He doesn't totally avoid great melodies, although he's able to introduce them without losing the forward drive. Here, the tune from the first movement reappears. Concerto in F is about a third longer than Rhapsody in Blue, but I think much more successful in using jazz idioms within a classical concerto format. Join us on Saturday, March 23rd in the Wilson Center, when pianist Richard Dowling performs Gershwin's Concerto in F, in a concert which also includes a dazzling new arrangement of music from Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera.